a knitting machine. This video is a knitting machine tutorial, and we will be doing this beautiful, cute little cropped sweater. So let's do this. Okay, so my name's Carolina, and this is Carolina's Closet. Let's not forget to subscribe. If at any point in the video you have some doubts, questions, insights, anything that you want to tell me or others that might be watching this video, comment that down below, because why not? Also, like the video if you liked it. So finally we have a little knitting tutorial. Okay, like let me say, not so much for YouTube, but on Instagram, where a few more people follow me, people always ask for like tutorials or like knitting machine explanational videos, and I'm always so hesitant to do them because I just don't feel confident in, like, I've been knitting in the machine for a while, but still I feel a little like, I don't know if I'm like good enough to teach, but I'm trying, okay? I did do a full tutorial on how to make crochet pants, being those my first ever crochet pants, so let's just do this. So I will just mention, this is a 3-part video. It is very well explained. I talk about details and like step by step of like using the machine. If you've never used your machine before, if it's a functioning machine, these 3 videos might be good videos to start with. I will be using some techniques, a few of them might be a little bit advanced, but not so much that you cannot do them. It's very simple. It's a very simple design. In this first video, I will be explaining a little bit of the pattern that we're going to do. I will share with you guys my pattern for this exact sweater, but if you want to make it bigger, smaller, a different stitch, I will show you how to do that in this video, as well as how to thread the machine and how to start your project. And then in the next video, I will sit in the machine with you guys and we will knit our little sweater thing together. That's a longer video. And then in the third video, you will notice that this is quite a simple design. In the third video, I will be talking about things that you can add to this sweater, like a hem and like this color neckline, so that you can improve your design or make it just different. I will show you all of this type of pattern that I did to inspire you to make some different ones. So yeah, this is the roundup of everything you'll be watching in this week. I will post them pretty much back to back. I just decided to split them because especially the part where I knit is very, very long. So yeah. These jeans are so tight. Let's talk design. So normally when we create a sweater, we have the front part, the back part, they're usually the same length, and then the sleeves, 2 of them. This is usually how we build sweaters, and then we join them by the shoulders and then the sleeves in the shoulders, and that's kind of what happens. For this little piece here, that's not what we're doing. Nay. We will be making a long thing that goes from one arm all the way to the other. Start in one wrist, and then we will make the whole sleeve to fit the whole arm, and then we will make it bigger, knit all the way this to make the torso of a body, and then we close it and make the second sleeve. And whilst doing that, we will create a little hole here for the head. So we will make all of this in one go. It's just one piece of one knit. There is only one point in this project where you have to cut the yarn, but then you just put it back. It's just to change the position of the yarn, okay? And then we fold this here, and then we will have something like this. Maybe a little cropped. Something like this. And then this will be one seam and this will be the other seam. So we won't have seams here. This is not technically not a raglan.
Raglan.
A raglan.
Raglan.
Because raglans are neck down and this is sleeve to sleeve. So technically this is what the crochet girlies have been calling a sleeve. Throughout this video you might see me struggling to find a way to call these, because this is not a raglan sweater, this is not a normal sweater, and this is not normal. It's not a normal sleeve because sleeves, they don't cover below the boob. So I just call it like a cropped sweater top, sleeves, elongated sleeves. I don't know what to call them, but this is what we're doing, okay? I've done a few of them and they are quite comfortable. I will show you now how to make a pattern to fit your own body. I just suggest not making it too tight, like too tight fitting on like body tight, because this seam here is a little strange. It's not the most anatomically fulfilling, you know, because there's not a armhole for you to put the sleeves after. So it is supposed to be a more oversized kind of garment. Listen, I am not what the kids call a gatekeeper. I'm joking. I will have the yarn that I use for this project linked down below. The thing is, whenever I personally go to the YouTubes.coms to learn a different fiber art or something that I want to learn in this world of ours, it never really matters when the people are like, oh, I bought this yarn in that store, because I never have access to whatever store they're talking about. So for me, it doesn't matter. What matters is it's a thin yarn. If you go on like any website that you go for like used stuff or like eBay, places like that, like Facebook marketplace, and you just type in like knitting machine yarn, you usually will find cones in a thin yarn, and that's what's good for knitting machines. I'm using acrylic for this. I usually prefer cotton, but acrylics are very good for beginners. They're easy, they slide through the machine, they're just they're good, okay? I'm sorry, yes, they're the worst one for the environment, but if you buy a couple cones of yarn, make a sweater for yourself and wear it, it's better than buying from some brands out there, being cotton or not, or any sustainable. Let's not go on that tangent in this video. Anyway, this yarn specifically that I'm used for this project is a cone with 250 grams of yarn, and the TEX thing is 200. I think that's a universal international measurement for yarn. One cone was enough for me to do the sweater and the rib in the bottom. However, when I started doing the neckline, I had to open up a new cone of yarn. So I think 350 grams of yarn will be good for you. If you don't find yarn on a cone, that's fine. Buy a thin yarn in a skein, or it's better if you have it in the little things, and pull it from the middle. I find that better. I do that all the time. It's no problem at all. Okay, so this sweater is quite a bit oversized, and if you have, you know, a body that's a little bit smaller or a bigger than mine, and you have a yarn that's like similar to mine, you can just kind of go ahead and use like the same settings in the machine as me and kind of do the sweater. It will probably work. It might be a little smaller, a little bigger, depending on your machine, but in general, it will work. Now, I always recommend going and doing a tension square to test the exact technique that you want to use, the exact yarn that you want to use, your machine. Even like if you use the same tension that I'm using in my machine, usually machines will have a little bit of a difference in between them. So a tension 7 might be a little different from my machine to your machine, so your project might end up bigger than mine or smaller than mine. So I always recommend doing a tension square in your machine with your yarn, with the technique that you want, and that's what I will be showing you how to do right now. Oh my god, the wind is insane. So let's start. I have the yarn over here, and if you don't know how to thread it, let me see if I can show you. So you grab the yarn up. So you have your yarn, and you go first through this loop here, just one. The other one is for like another yarn if you're using two. And then you pull it up and you go inside this little thing over here. There's a tension disc. And then over here, like this, oops, like this. And then up in the antenna, this was definitely a two-hand job, but this is it. And then you go down. I always like to start with the carriage in my right side, the right side of the machine, and I start wrapping in the left side. So I will pull the amount of needles that I need, and I start wrapping from the left to the right. So from the side that there's not the carriage all the way till the side that has the carriage. So I'm casting on, oops, with the wrap, and that's the wrap that I'm going to be using. You wrap like this, so it's a knee wrap. You go, so your yarn is here, it will go around the needle, so the next needle like this. See? And the more you practice, the more speed you get. If you like accidentally get to like this, you just go back and do it right. See, sometimes they're like a little bit close together, so you just have to like, you know, do it right. Go back and continue. And now, say here, I have to open the little thing here. I will put the yarn and I will close it. And I want to be using a tension 7 throughout the whole thing, except for the cuff, but I'm going to talk about that. So I'm using a tension 7. The bigger that you go, the looser and like more open the weave is going to be, and the smaller size, the like more compact your knit's going to be. I usually don't like to go like 0, 1, 2 if I'm using like a normal size yarn. From 4 up, I think is a nice tension. I prefer using 7 and 8s for like this. It creates a type of knit that I personally like. So now I will do like 50 to 60 rows. I have knitted like 4 rows, and I've been taking the needles forward in the beginning because the weight is not here yet, but I think now I have enough space, yes, to put the weights on. You always have to use your weights to create the tension. Otherwise, whenever you knit, your work falls from the machine because it doesn't have enough tension to knit. This is really bad when your yarn has like a knot on it. If you can watch it and you see that there's like a little knot like this, I advise going back the roll and cutting the yarn at the end and starting again as if like you're doing a stripe or something, because these can come undone, and that's really frustrating that factories leave the yarn with knots like this. Because it's a tension square, I will leave it, as well as like the mistakes that the needle has been doing, but in the actual piece, try to watch for these kind of mistakes, like a needle skipping or like this factory knot here. It makes for a worse knit. So there you go, I have 50. I'll do like one more, and then I will go tension 10, and I will cast off. I will do this kind of cast off here, but I will actually do a different cast off in the final project. For the tension square, you don't really need to like properly cast off. You can just use a different yarn as a waste yarn, knit a couple of rows, and just take the work out of the machine. I personally prefer to have my tension squares, well cast off so that maybe I can use them for a patchwork project. But there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you can measure the stitches, that should be fine. Okay, so you have your tension square. Now let's make this pattern. You will need some measurements. First measurement you need cuff. We're making it big. You can make it snug, but don't make it smaller than the widest part of your hand around. From where you want your little sleeve to sit in your arm, let's do like beginning of the hand, and you finish around armpit here, and then you get the measurement of your bust, so like the biggest area on your torso, so from neck, besides the shoulders, from neck all the way to like waist-ish, measure the biggest part. So if you have a bigger belly, measure there. If you have a bigger boobs, measure here. I have bigger boobs. I'm going for the boob measurement. And those are the measurements you need. Let's make the pattern. You need ruler, your tension square, paper, a pen, and a calculator. Should I film here? It sounds really bad. Okay, so it was in fact really loud, so I decided to animate the explanation instead. You have your knit and you lay it on in front of you just like you made it. So the very first row is on the bottom and the very last row is on top. The horizontal lines will be the stitches. I will call them stitches from now on. And the vertical lines will be rows. So each one of the little V's vertically will be rows, and each one of them horizontally are stitches. Okay, so now that you know that, you get the ruler, you put it on the little swatch, and you see how many stitches are in 10 centimeters and how many rows are in 10 centimeters. I will be using the measurements from my swatch, and you just change it to yours. So mine in 10 centimeters, there's 23 stitches and 39 rows, which means that in 1 centimeter, I have 2.3 stitches and 3.9 rows. I like to do with the commas just because you get a closer result to the actual thing that you're doing, and then you round up at the end. Okay, so now let's go to the piece that we're making. This is the overall shape that we're working for, so you will fold it over and this is how it will look on you. Okay, yeah, sure, it's a little bit out of scale, but you got the gist. Even though it is like this, we are going to knit it vertically like this. So this is how it's going to look in the machine once we're knitting it. This is the position that we're knitting it on. This is important because of the vertical and horizontal lines, okay? So I will be putting the measurements from my body here. So the cuff is 40 centimeters. The arm is 50, but I am choosing to do 4 centimeters, 4 to 5 centimeters for the cuff. And I will talk about the cuff in the second video while I'm doing it. I don't usually calculate it. I just do a general thing. And then the body, and then this big body part, you use half of your body measurement, like either the boobs or the belly, but I added 10 centimeters to the full measurement because I want to make it oversized. So it's quite oversized. And for the neck hole, neckline, head hole part, it's a bit of like a standard thing. For one measurement, you can do it rounded. I just do it in a square because it's easier. You have anywhere from 11 to 15 centimeters, and the other side you can have like 15 to 25 centimeters. You can choose that. That will depend on how you want it to fit on you, how you want it to look. I like to go for the bigger numbers just because I like it oversized. But in this design that I'm doing, I actually used the opposite. So I made the stitches 26 centimeters and the rolls 15 centimeters. So that makes neck hole kind of U-shaped when I finish it, kind of like this. So it's more U-shaped. And if I had done the opposite, so 15 in the stitches and 26 centimeters in the rolls, it would be more of like a canoe shaped neckline. And if I just do less, so that if I do like 15 by 15 or 11 by 15, I would have more of like a snugger fit of a neckline. So that's like a decision that you have to make. It's also a lot of trial and error. You kind of will see it when you make it because it's so symmetrical that you have to make it and see how it lays on your body. Okay, so you have the measurements. You know how much 1 centimeter or 1 inch is in stitches and rolls. So you kind of just translate all of your measurements from centimeters or inches till rolls and stitches. Okay? So let's start in the very bottom, the cuff. The cuff is 40 centimeters. It's quite a large cuff. So 1 centimeter is 2.3 stitches. Therefore, 40 centimeters will be 92 stitches. And I'll just stop here because for some reason I changed my mind midway doing the pattern and I used 96 stitches, which means that it will be almost 2 centimeters larger. I'm doing everything oversized, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just disclosing that the number in the end will be a little different. But in general, this is the calculation, how you do the calculation. You do this for all of the measurements. So the cuff, skip the cuff because we're doing it in real time in the second video. And just kind of subtract a couple of 4 to 5 stitches from the overall arm shape when you're doing the arm measurement. So here in the arm, I have 46 centimeters times 3.9. That's 179. Now we cannot use broken numbers because those, like, each number is one full roll. You cannot do half rolls. So I usually round it up if I'm doing something oversized and round it down if I'm doing something that has a lot of elasticity to it. For the body, we're dividing the body measurement plus 10 centimeters divided by 2, and we get that number and subtract the amount of centimeters that we're using for the neckline and divide that by 2 because we're doing half because we have 2 shoulders. And then you do the calculation with that number. So for me it was 18 and then 18 centimeters for one shoulder, 15 centimeters for the neck, 18 centimeters for the other shoulder, and that ended up being 70 rolls, 60 rolls on the neck, and then 70 more in the other shoulder, but the rest is just repeating. So after the neckline, we're just repeating everything, and this is the end result. This is my final pattern. Yay! Yes, so upon me sitting down to explain the pattern making process, it does come to my attention that this could be an even more in-depth video on just how to pattern make using this like 10 by 10 technique. But that's the gist of it. If you didn't understand it and you would like a better, more detailed video on how to do that, let me know. So we have our little recipe, our little pattern. I always call it a recipe because that's what it is. It says do this, do that, do that. It's a recipe. I'll just read to you the recipe that I'm using, the one that we will be doing starting on the next video. I'll just open up and start knitting. I'll sit with you guys in the machine and we will knit together. This is what we will be knitting. So here it is. 96 stitches, right? Yeah, 48 each side. And then we will do a 20 by 20 cuff. That's the little thing here. The little, we calculated, we took a couple of centimeters from when we calculated the sleeve. That's what that is. I'll be doing that. And then knit 180. We will have a pretty long sleeve. If you want it a little bit smaller, just do a few less stitches. And when we get to 180, we will increase 38 stitches on each side so that we have the full machine. That's just, increase as much machine that you have to increase for. Knit 70 rows. Stop, cast off 60 in the middle for the head hole. And then knit 60 one side, stop, cut the yarn, go to the other side, knit 60 more. That's, we're doing the both sides of the hole. That has to be done separately. I'll talk about that. And then we will cast back the middle, knit 70 more, decrease the 38 stitches from each side, go back to the 90 in the middle, 48, 48, and then we will knit 180 more and do a 20 by 20 cuff in the end. And when that's over, iron, fold your little project and stitch the sides. I like to do an invisible seam. So that's the recipe. Let's hope that I wrote it in the side of the screen. If you already understood how to do this, I'm sure you can sit down and knit for yourself, but just come with me. Open the video and let's knit together. And if you don't know how to do all of this, I will be going on step by step on how to do all of these, all the increases, all the decreases, the cuffs, and all of that in the next video. Do join me in that one. I will love your presence. This is the end of this video. I thought it was going to be a short one. Apparently it's not. Knitting takes time, and explaining knitting takes even longer. No, it doesn't. It takes less time. All that being said, thank you for watching. If you did watch all the way here, wow, you're really interested in knitting. I hope this was good company to you, and I hope it was educational, at least a little bit. And do comment down below. I don't know, let's find something to comment down below if you made it all the way here. Comment a knitting emoji, the yarn emoji. Comment that down below. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the notification button so that you're notified when I post the next one that we'll be knitting together. Like, comment down below. Follow me on social media. I'll leave it right here. And I think that's it. Bye bye.